Hey everyone, today we're taking a break from the guides and tutorials to try something a little bit different, a Forza car review. And the car we'll be starting this series with is the very classic Datsun 510. Now, this being the first episode, I'm going to spend a bit of time going over my goals for the series as well as explaining the format. However, moving forward, the reviews should become pretty streamlined, so bear with me as we walk through this first episode, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the series. So my motivation behind these videos is to encourage both myself and you guys to try out new cars. There are something like 500 different vehicles in Forza, and I find that most players will just stick to only using a handful, me included, so I wanted to branch out and hopefully discover some hidden gems along the way. I also want these videos to serve as a sort of public forum for each car. I obviously can't spend a huge amount of time with every single car, so there are going to be a lot of people out there that will know more about the cars than I will, and it would be great to have these videos as a sort of car-specific hub where people can share their knowledge. Now with that said, let's get to reviewing our Datsun 510. We'll start by doing a short test drive of the stock car and feeling out some of its strengths. Alright, so this being a pretty low-powered and pretty classy car, I felt there was no better place to test drive it than the heart of Edinburgh. These tight city streets will help play to the car's strengths a little bit. And I'll say right off the bat that even though this car comes in at a whopping 96 horsepower, the first few gears feel pretty snappy and responsive. I'm a big fan of the rear-wheel drive layout, and I can definitely tell that with this car it doesn't seem too overbearing. I'm not getting too much oversteer, and there really isn't any understeer. Now I've got to say, this is my first time driving this car, and I feel pretty comfortable with it. It's very responsive and predictable. And obviously, being a D-Class car, there are quite a few shortcomings. You'll see here as I hit third gear, it really starts to struggle on power. But the suspension setup, although very soft, is predictable, which is huge. And I feel like the balance between oversteer and understeer is almost spot on. I might have to keep this thing rear-wheel drive. Now, as I'm getting into the drive a little bit, I'm noticing that the gearing isn't quite as good as I thought. That will definitely need some adjusting. The car has a pretty short wheelbase, which might make it fun for low-powered drifting, but I'm really feeling this thing as more of a track or even rally car. I really want to see how this car handles some more power while still being rear-wheel drive. The excessive body roll might be an issue, but I'd bet I can tune that out. Now, let's go into the upgrades and see what kind of options we've got. Now, I'm pretty surprised at how many options there are for engine swaps. I love that, and it looks like we've got a body kit as well. So first off, we've got the 3.2 inline 6. I love that engine. 2 liter inline 4, the VVT, a 2.6 liter inline 6 twin turbo, and a 1.6 liter turbo rally. That will be awesome for rally builds. Now, I would imagine since we're already rear-wheel drive, yes, the other option is going to be all-wheel drive, but I'm going to stick with the rear for now. Looks like on the stock engine you can get a single turbo. That's pretty sweet. And let's check out this body kit. Okay, so it looks like we've got some nice fender flares, and as always, I love the front-mounted oil cooler. That is super sweet. It's interesting that adding that body kit gave the car a pretty decent lift, but hey, this would make for a really fun rally car. But I think I'm going to do a track build for this one. So from here I'm going to play with the car a little more off camera, try it in different classes, different engine swaps, etc, etc. And then I'll come back to the video with a tune that I feel best fits the car, and we'll do a sort of top gear lap time board sort of thing, and I'll give the car some final thoughts and some grades on where I feel it fits compared to the other cars in its class. Alright, so coming back to the video after I've had some more time with the Datsun, and in my personal preference, this car fits best as an A-Class track machine. There's definitely some merit there for A or even B-Class rally, but this thing really excelled on the hard pavement. So I've created an A-Class road course tune using the 3.2 liter inline 6, coming in at exactly 400 horsepower. This is a super light car weighing just over 1,700 pounds, and I did manage to keep it rear-wheel drive, which I'm really happy about. Now, let's take the Datsun 510 out on the track and see how it stacks up. I've created a road course here that works as a good test track to really push the limits of a car and its tune. I'm going to run 4 laps of this course for every car and take the best lap and add it to the lap time board. If you'd like to, feel free to download this from my Creative Hub and you can drive along, see how your cars compare, or see if you can beat my times with my tunes. Now, how did the Datsun do? Well, this car is great. It might not be quite the fastest, it might not even handle the best, but I've really never driven a more predictable car. I really can't quite put it into words, but there was something so instinctive about this car. It really always did exactly what I wanted to. It never seemed to get out from under my feet, and when I made little mistakes, they felt like my mistakes, not just the car misbehaving. The only major negative thing I have to say about this car is that just something about it didn't quite seem fast. I know it has 400 horsepower and weighs less than 2,000 pounds, which should be a recipe for disaster in real life, but maybe there just wasn't quite enough drama to the car. It almost felt like the car overhandled for the amount of power it had, and that left me feeling like I wasn't pushing the car's limits. But that is of course a super minor issue in the grand scheme of things, and overall I really love this car. It's probably a new favorite. Now with the 4 laps done, let's see how it stacks up. Of course, this being the first episode, I don't have any other episodes to compare the car against, but I have taken the liberty of taking one car from every class that I already had some experience with and adding those to the leaderboard so there was at least somewhat of an idea of where the car stacks up. Alright, so the Datsun 510 did it in 2 minutes, 40 seconds, .309. And of course there isn't too much to compare it against, but it is impressive because I drive that RX-7 quite a bit, and for it to be 4 seconds slower is definitely saying something. And now that we've given the Datsun 510 a good run on the test track, let's give it some grades on how I think it performs in different aspects of the game. So starting with road course driving, this thing definitely gets an A. It's so predictable, it does make good power, and is really controllable still in rear wheel drive. Moving on to rally, I'm giving it a B-. It's still really easy to drive, and it is pretty fun, but it just falls short of other similarly classed rally cars. For drift, I'm giving it a C+. It is pretty easy to drift and it drifts pretty well, but the short wheelbase doesn't translate well into high power, which means you need to keep this thing pretty low power, and that just limits its usability. Now for the fun factor, I'm giving it a solid B+. It is pretty fun to drive, it looks good and it drives very well, but there's just no drama to it. It's just not super exciting, and it's almost tough to take the car too seriously, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It manages to get the Sunday driver feel while still being a pretty serious track car. And with all that said, that gives us an overall grade of a B+. All in all, I'm really happy with this car, and I definitely recommend it for your A-class road course arsenal, or if you just want to have some fun in rally or drift. And that just about does it for our Datsun 510 car review. I hope you enjoyed the first episode in this series, and I hope you want to see more. If you've got any comments or criticisms, let me know down in the comments section. And if you're looking forward to more, let me know what car you'd like to see. Keep in mind that this series won't be taking over my other planned videos, and it's more of a side project that I think will be fun and keep the channel rolling with a good amount of content for you guys. These videos are a lot easier to make than half-hour tuning tutorials, and they're honestly a little bit more fun. So again, I hope you enjoy the series, I hope you enjoy the Datsun 510, and keep enjoying Forza Horizon 4. Thanks guys, I'll see you in the next one.